Evening, folks. Welcome back to the channel. So what we're doing is we're still busy with the figures, and I'm going to show you the next step in the cleaning process, and we'll see how we go from there. And oh, by the way, cheers. Coffee is good, and always a cup of Java to go when we're doing our modeling. So I'll show you just now. I don't know if you can see, but behind me I've got one of the agents that have snuck in, and he's sleeping on my dresser. So anyway, okay folks, let's push on. So what I'm going to do tonight, we have done a little bit of sanding on one of the sniper figures, on the assistant, the sniper's assistant. He's observer, as they call him. And what I like to do now, I like to use a very thin or very fine grit water paper, and as you can see, this is the 800, and it's a very fine grit. You can also use it as it is without water, but I always like to use a little bit of water. It's not so abrasive then, and it's a lot more, it's finer. You obviously don't want to get a very abrasive look on the actual figure itself. Okay, so what we're going to do now, I'm going to show you, I've done one or two sections already that I've sanded, and I use a very thin piece, and I like to fold then I use the edge of the sandpaper to get into the grooves. Okay, let me get you down here, and then you can see exactly what we're about. Let's just move that light across there, and we'll get that light in there like that. Let's just see here. That's far better. Okay, let's just move that. There we go. We can get that light like that. That's better. Okay, there we go. Right, so now what we do is, if you take like this guy's leg, now inside the grooves there, you can see that's where we've cleaned up. You've got to wet the paper a little bit, and you've actually got to just gently get inside in between the grooves to get that where you've cut it off with your knife. And also on the boot, you can see the line there. You can just gently sand it, and you'll be surprised, folks, how abrasive this really is. And it's not, you don't have to rub hard. You just got to gently get it in there. You can even get to use the 1200. I use the 800. I find it works nicely, the 800 grit, but the 1200 works just as well, but the 1200 just takes a bit longer. So this, you just use a bit more water, and you move along, and you slowly clean everything up, and make sure the surfaces where you're going to be gluing is also nicely sanded, because that gives a nice biting surface for your glue. And I'll show you what glues I use too. I don't use standard or the normal so-called modeling adhesives. I actually personally don't like them myself. If you look on this leg of the soldier, have a look, you'll see gently, or you'll see, if you just look, you'll see the gentle line, the seam. That's very, now that seam is part of the actual garment that's running down there. You don't want to do that. You don't want to sand that off. That's actually the seam of the pants. Just as it were, I'm just pointing something out to you. Okay, so when you're sanding, folks, just be very, very gentle. You don't want to destroy the detail of the actual figure itself. Okay, and then if I want to get you this side, I'm going to move you on here, and I'll get it across. This one I've done already, and then you keep this water next to you. So what you do here, you get a little bath, and you put a bit of lukewarm water in, okay, and a little bit of detergent. I like to use washing up dish liquid, and we use one here that's in South Africa we call it Sunlight, and it's got a bit of a lemon added to it. It actually works quite nice. So what you do is you put a bit that, and you get yourself an old toothbrush, okay, and then what you do is you gently just rub it, and you just wash it down, okay, and you're washing all the residue. Now let me tell you something. Let me just get you back up here again quickly. Now, let me tell you something. Okay, what a lot of people will say to you, they say, oh, washing, well, I don't wash that. I just put straight primer on. Now, that's fine. Like I said before in the previous video, that's fine. You can do exactly that, okay? The coffee is good, man. And you can do exactly that. But there is a slight chance, okay? You must remember, these figures and any kit comes out of like an extrusion mold, or where the styrene, this is called styrene, that's used to mold these kits. Okay, now there's heat involved, there's a charge, electrical charge involved. So somewhere along the line there has to be a releasing agent. And they don't, when they pack the kits, they do clean them, but they don't get rid of all the releasing agent. And you must remember, when you're working with it, you're leaving residue on it. So it's always advisable to give it a good clean, because the modern modeling paints today, and I use Humbrol, as many of you might know, and Humbrol can be very forgiving in the sense that if there's a bit of dirt or something on and you can't see it, or there's a bit of grease or something, it will still take. But there are a lot of these modern tech paints that are very, very good, and the guys swear by them. And those paints, when you spray on, or if you're using very thin layers like you should be doing at this scale, when you paint in very thin layers, that's another tip I'll give you at some stage, the paint will either not dry, or it will go an opaque color instead of the color that it should be. So I'm telling you, it is imperative, in my opinion, to wash your figures. Okay, so whatever anybody else tells you, that it's up to you, but I'm telling you the best results that once again, I'm not a pro figure painter, but I've just found it makes the paint better, it dries better, it looks better, and it gives a better sheen to the whole figure. Right, enough of that. Let's get you back down here. So what I do is, then I take it and then I rub it gently. I just take it and I just rub it nicely with a toothbrush like that. Get it all nicely clean, rub it up, make sure. And also when you're doing this, you're just smoothing it down a little bit, getting rid of all the edges like that. And then what I do is, from there I just drop it in a clear and I let it sit and soak there in the water like that. Okay, so folks, that's just a quick video just to show you the actual cleaning process and how we go on from there. And then the next time we get together, cheers, hopefully I'll get to the point where we start gluing and start putting the actual figure together. Now the gluing part is also essential. What I'll do is I'll do the gluing part and the filling part together. There are certain most figures, not all figures, especially if you kit bashing them and you making your own pose, you're going to have gaps where there shouldn't be gaps, and then I'll show you what I use for the filler as well. Okay folks, so until the next time, you guys keep modeling, stay solid out there, and remember, patience and take your time. Cheers.